Today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, whoever crosses this yard of bricks first could cement their spot in the chase for the Sprint Cup.
What else makes winning this race important? Well, 8 out of the 18 winners went on to win the championship that very same year.
But when all that's been forgotten, the most important thing is to have your name engraved on this trophy alongside the greats of our sport.
And NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco, starts right now.
Once a year for the past 18, NASCAR has invaded the world-famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco. The ground that is hallowed by open-wheel racing provides one of the most coveted trophies in all of motorsports. It's a win that can make a driver's season and even a career, and it can also foreshadow the championship. For more than a century, this is where legends are made and dreams can be crushed. There is only one Indy, and on this race day, there will only be one winner. And the fans are out on this beautiful Indiana day as we got fine temperatures for racing and a huge event, the Brickyard 400, coming your way. Hello, everybody. I'm John Roberts. Welcome to Race Day. We want to welcome back our good friends Larry McReynolds and Kyle Petty, along with race car driver Kenny Wallace. KP, it just doesn't get much bigger than Brickyard.
No, it doesn't, and I've been emotional all week, and it's not because of Indy. I just missed you guys so much.
We missed you too,
I
man.
just missed y'all, man.
There are two races that teams do not care about points. It's the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400. They come here to win this race because, Larry, as my friend said last year, would you say, Kyle, when you win this race, you're a champion.
Well, I'm going to leave out the 500 part of the Daytona or the 400 of the Brickyard. I think no matter what type of racing you're in, you want to be able to say, I won at Daytona or I won at Indy. And I came here 7 years as a crew chief for the Brickyard 400, and I'm seeing the same thing in that garage area right now. You bring the best race car you can. You bring all the horsepower you can because you know it's going to take that and then some if you want to go out there and kiss the bricks at the end of the day.
And a little bit of luck along the way certainly doesn't hurt. Well, while the Sprint Cup Series had a well-deserved weekend off, there was some expected but still devastating news for driver A.J. Almendinger. For more, let's go to Wendy Venturini with our news from the garage.
Good morning, Johnny. Yes, we do have some updates of what's happened this week regarding A.J. Allmendinger. The B sample test came back positive to match the A sample test. Now, keep in mind, it is the same sample from the A. It's just the other half of it, so it's not a new sample. It's just a B test, and that did test positive for amphetamines. And now we have checked in with A.J. He's enrolled in that Road to Recovery program, NASCAR's Road to Recovery program, and he actually started it on Friday. I just spoke 30 minutes ago to AJ's business manager, and this is new information coming into race day, that evaluation took place on Friday. It was about 4 hours long, and they have now handed that information from the medical professional to Dr. Black, which in then turn will let AJ know how long that Road to Recovery program will last. We haven't been given that information yet. Now, on the other side of things, Sam Hornish Jr. is in the 22 car for today, of course, at Indianapolis, and next week at Pocono. But what does that mean for Sam Hornish Jr. on the Cup side and his future? Well, those questions haven't been answered yet. Of course, Sam would love to stay in the car. However, we just know that it's going to be through Pocono, and we are going to hear more from Sam Hornish Jr. coming up on NASCAR Race Day. Now let's welcome Bob Dillner.
Wendy, emotions high with one of the biggest races of the year today, and especially with 7 races to go before the chase cutoff. The driver of that car right there, Carl Edwards, so close to a title last year, but he's on the outside looking in. He's a new crew chief this week, though, during the off week. Bob Osborne out, Chad Norris in as the crew chief, and that 99 car on the outside of the front row to start today's Brickyard 400. We'll speak to Carl Edwards about this mysterious move coming up here on NASCAR Race Day. Plus, the wild card chase is on, and it's getting crazy. That man right there, Casey Kane, he has 2 victories. He's safe right now, but a host of others just behind him in the top 20 in points. Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano all looking for that next coveted victory. Those wins very elusive right now. The battle for the wild card chase, we'll hear from some of the competitors coming up. Johnny?
Bob, absolutely. The wild card's going to get a little bit more wild after today. You can connect with us on speed.com, chat live in the Speed Social Garage. Follow us on NASCAR on Speed and at NASCAR on Speed, #RaceDay on Twitter. And we also have a Facebook poll question for you today. Chevrolet has won 9 consecutive Brickyard 400s. Will the Bowtie Brigade make it 10 wins in a row? Let us know by way of our Race Day Facebook poll, either yes or no, and we'll have the results for you later in the show. Now they shoot off a cannon to let the fans know that the gates are open here, and Jimmy Johnson says thanks to IMS. The cannon went off at 6 a.m. followed by live music and helicopters flying above. Do you realize it's 6 a.m. and no one is here? So Jimmy Johnson was awoken a little early, but Matt Kenseth, his buddy, said this by way of Twitter. Man, I slept like a rock last night. I feel so rested. I wonder how my friend Jimmy Johnson is feeling on this fine day. Well, we just found out. When it comes to racing, it doesn't get much bigger than Indy, and this huge edition of NASCAR Race Day is coming your way.
Gordon are back as our Legends Forum gets the scoop from 3 of NASCAR's greatest on old school icons and how memorable paint schemes and numbers are history. And we move from past icons to a current hero as 5-time tells us how he can get Brickyard win number 4. Big news down the pipes. Last year's Cup runner-up made a major switch after Loudon. We'll hear from Carl on why the change is necessary and why there's still time to get his season back on track. They wanna get Was there a bigger surprise last year than Menard's Indy win? We'll jump back to last July's breakthrough. Then Paul prognosticates on his chances for a repeat. There are just 7 races left till the chase. We'll tell you who's locked in and who's running out of time. Plus, 2 wildcard contenders shed light on their chase chances. And following Tuesday's suspension, we'll have more on the AJ drama. Then hear Hornish's 411 on his whirlwind tour. Once a year, the Sprint Cup gets down and dirty at the world's most famous track. And we're there to keep you dialed in. There's more NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco, straight ahead on Speed.
The year this racetrack was built, gas cost 6 cents a gallon, a Coke cost 5 cents, and a stamp cost 2 cents. Traditionally, it's been a hot run at this race, but today we have a bit of a reprieve from the heat. Race time temperature is forecast at 84 degrees, a lot of humidity, but this is also the place that 4-time Brickyard winner Jeff Gordon could heat up his season.
Oh, here we go. Ernie Smith going in 1. Ernie Smith and Jeff Gordon gets alongside.
That wasn't on orders from the crew. That was because Ernie missed the entrance to turn 1, and Jeff saw it and immediately went for the hole. Years from today, when 79 stock car races have been run here, we'll remember the name. Jeff Gordon, winner of the inaugural Brickyard 400.
You are the man.
You guys are the best! Yes! Oh my God, we did it!
And that was just the start of Jeff Gordon's dominance at this racetrack. He's won 4 times. That's more than any other driver. This is the 19th Sprint Cup Series race here, and there have been just 11 different race winners. Chevrolet has won 13 of the 18 races, including the last 9 in a row. Well, today on NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco, we have Krista Voda with us, who is showing us some of the many iconic scenes around this racetrack, and she's going to start us off in the famous pagoda.
That's right, John. The green monster at Fenway Park, the infamous lawns at Wimbledon, all iconic symbols. Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is the pagoda, and the view you get from standing atop of it is second to none. The original pagoda was wooden. It was built in 1913. It actually burned down in 1925. Over the years, 3 different pagodas have been built in its place. Over my shoulder, you can see the garage area. From here, Gasoline Alley. The car's actually rolling through inspection right now. The Sprint Cup cars using the Formula One garages here at IMS for the first time ever. And we are actually on the roof. This is as high as you can go. This is where the spotters will be today for the race. And actually, some of the backpacks already lined up, spotters staking their claim. But something that's interesting, drivers need not 1, but 2 spotters here. Why? Because as you turn to see the cars along the backstretch, the spotters are hit smack with a cement wall. Below us, that's where race control, timing, and scoring are located. So we're going to walk for a little bit and show you what's on the other side. Hey, an Olympic connection, by the way. The glass panels that are on the front stretch, they were specially made for the track in England. Just a little known fact there for you. And the view here on the other side, equally impressive. As we walk over, one spotter standing on the front stretch. The second spotter, which for most drivers will be their main spotter, will be located right here. From here, you can see just about everything. Down from turns 1 and 2, all the way across the backstretch into 3 and 4. That's when the other spotter will take over for the drivers. But you can also see some other parts of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to be taking you on a tour of the grounds coming up over the next 2 hours. You can also see in the distance Indianapolis, downtown Indy. And if I walk right over here, what else can I see? Over my right shoulder, I can see the speed stage. So, Johnny, as I throw it back to you, I'm actually going to wave. I don't know if you can see me, but I am as high up at this place as you can get.
We can see it, Krista, no doubt about that, and we're looking forward to seeing the rest of the images around this racetrack that Krista's going to take us throughout the show. Now, over the last 7 decades, Wood Brothers Racing has been pioneers in racing, but also in the pit stop. Did you know back in 1965 that the Wood Brothers pit crew was borrowed by driver Jim Clark, and they led him to a dominating Indy 500 win? They never changed a tire, but their fueling allowed him to dominate the Indy 500 and bring home the big trophy. So now let's go to Wendy, who is standing by with a very important 2 parts of that team.
Then, and it's a special day today for the Wood Brothers. Trevor Bayne will be piloting the 21 with a Candy Apple Red. Now, have you gotten your history lesson on the Candy Apple Red paint scheme?
I have a little bit. It seems like every day that I show up to the shop is a new history lesson, though. So I've learned more there than I ever did at school, I think. Just being around these guys, and they've always got stories about everything. The 65 paint scheme, the Candy Apple Red, it's got a story. That was the year that they won the Indianapolis 500 with the Lotus team, and it's just really cool to see that back on the car. I think it's awesome that Glenn Wood had his own paint scheme at Charlotte last year. Now Leonard's going into the Hall of Fame, and he's got his own paint scheme, and they're just remembered for all kinds of different things. But the 65 year, I think, is really important to them, and I'm glad we're back here at Indy and bringing out that paint scheme again.
I know we're looking forward to seeing it on the track. Leonard Wood is joining us now. Leonard, it's so cool to see you being honored on the car, on the hood for the Hall of Fame. I was stoked to know that you would be inducted. How special has this year been for you? You have a lot going on your plate, but it's got to mean so much.
Oh, it's very rewarding. The Hall of Fame staff has just been spoiling me to no end. And then, of course, it's very exciting. I'm going to be riding with Trevor today, and I told the other drivers that we're going to be keeping an eye on him and on them. But my nephews Ed and Lynn and niece Kim wanted to celebrate this in some way because the Hall of Fame's celebrating me going in, and with the Candy Apple Red paint scheme, and that's what we run in 65. So what better way to do it since we did win the 65 race year with Jim Clark. And 47 years later, and me riding on the hood with Trevor, that's just as good as it gets.
It sure is. Now, of course, Trevor Bayne has the accolades of a former Daytona 500 winner. To win at the Brickyard today, Trevor, oh my gosh, could you even imagine what that would be?
I can't imagine that. Just like we couldn't imagine the 500. This is definitely the next race that all the drivers want to check off, I think. I think it would probably go the Daytona 500, the Brickyard, maybe the Coke 600, but this is one of my top races that I've always enjoyed watching on TV, and just when you get in here, it's just a different feeling. It's kind of like that at Daytona. You can't see anything in the infield, so it gives it an eerie feeling. When you get on the track, you don't know what to expect, and it's kind of a sense of awe, just being where the Indy 500 is run, where the Brickyard 400 has always been run, and I'm sure we wouldn't mind getting down and kissing the bricks today. So we'll try to keep Leonard's picture on the hood in one piece, and I know I got a fast race car, so I'm just going to keep working on it from there.
All right, well, good luck out there today. No doubt it's a special day for NASCAR, and it's a special day for the Wood Brothers Racing Team. Johnny?
With 7 races to go, here are the Sprint Cup Series standings as we head down to the cutoff for the chase for the Sprint Cup Championship. Towards the top of this list, we will most likely not see much movement before we get to Richmond and set the chase. Towards the bottom, we may see some movement, and on this second page is where things get interesting. Right now, the wild cards belong to Casey Kane and Kyle Busch. Carl Edwards is in 11th in points, but without the wins as of right now, he is on the outside of the chase and has just 7 races to get in. And Bob Dillner, therefore, this team has made a big change in the last week.
And I think the big key is they're 46 points behind that coveted 10th spot, which would get him into the chase. So during the off week, shocked everybody. This team changing a crew chief, going from longtime crew chief Bob Osborne to a new crew chief here in the Cup Series. He's been in the Nationwide Series for some time with Trevor Bayne and the likes of others, but Chad Norris comes over to lead this team at one of the biggest races of the year, starting this weekend here at the Brickyard 400. Now, I got a chance to speak to both Carl and Chad Norris in the garage area. Chad believes this is a chance of a lifetime. He's ready for it. Carl Edwards said, you know what? They are polar opposites. Bob Osborne, very calm, cool, and collected. Chad Norris, just a little bit rough around the edges. He's energized. He's ready to get up and get going at things, and that may be just exactly what the doctor ordered for this team.
I think he's the perfect guy for these 7 races. It's you know, he seems very confident, seems like a very strong person, and he isn't shy. So he's just kind of come in the shop, you know, made his temporary office there and said, this is how we're doing everything, and it's been really good. And there's nothing saying that Bob won't be sitting on that pit box at Daytona 500. You know, nothing's in stone. I've won 18, I think 18 or 19 Cup races, and they're all because of Bob Osborne, and that's you know, it's no small thing. I understand that, and you know, when we talked about this, I said, Bob, man, this is you know, don't go too far. We could be begging for you to come back. So everybody knows that. Nothing's in stone. We'll just go do the best we can and take stock when we make the chase.
And that's the key for this team, trying to make the chase. 7 races to go. They got to get a victory or 2 to try to make their way into the chase. And I think this whole story here is twofold. Number one, this may be a shot of adrenaline, just the one that this team needed to make the chase, as Carl Edwards pointed out. But at the same time, we got to remember, it was announced that Bob Osborne actually stepped down as crew chief for medical reasons. And speaking to Carl this weekend here at Indy, he was surprised, and it hasn't been announced what those medical reasons were, but at the same time, Carl Edwards said, I was surprised to see what Bob Osborne was really going through, and he is hoping and praying that Bob gets better. So, you know, it's a big mystery here in the garage area, but at the same time, Chad Norris comes in to try to lead this team into the chase. A lot of questions unanswered for the 99 bunch.
And Bob, it also shows us how important winning is in this day and age in Sprint Cup competition. Want to welcome in Matt Clark. And Matt, we have seen this happen before. Jack Roush has parted Bob Osborne and Carl Edwards before, then put them back together. Is this the same scenario?
Well, I think when you look at it, it truly is Bob had a health issue. Now, change is constant in our sport, so we shouldn't really be surprised. I think it may provide a little spark. The guys will rally behind Chad. It could be a good sign for them. Remember now, it's been a long time since they hit victory lane, and I think this just may shake them up. Remember now, Bob's still in the organization. And you heard Carl there. Bob, we may come back to you. It truly is, and talking to some of the guys, it is a health issue. We respect it, but it's something that may spark these guys.
Yeah, it does appear just here this weekend at Indy that there's more surfaced about the health issue of Bob Osborne. And more than important than anything, we wish Bob well and want to see him back. But I do think also the performance of that race team, even though they'd won 18 races together, let's face the music. In the last year and a half, they've only won 1 race. And Kyle and I were talking yesterday, we felt like going back to Kentucky a few weeks ago, the call that was made at the end of that race where they stayed out and then had to pit for fuel with about 3 or 4 laps to go, we felt like things were starting to get a little bit sideways right there. But who would ever believe, just to show you where our sport's at, the 2 crew chiefs that battled for the championship at the end of last year, They are not in that same position here halfway through 2012.
Now, does this move, is this the one that's going to help Carl make the chase? Do you guys think it's going to be turn out to result in that?
I don't know. I agree with Matt. I mean, how many times do you see in other sports, whether it be basketball or football especially, when they change a quarterback, when their main quarterback gets hurt or something, they send the other guy in. It's like the rest of the team picks up their game.
One little
just
spark.
enough to do it. I just find it incredibly interesting that the team and the driver that were the story last year is 7 races away from being a non-story this year.
Yeah.
Because if they don't make the chase, we don't care whether they change crew chiefs or not. They're not going to be in. That's not who we're going to be talking about.
And they're going to have to win races.
Yes,
Greg.
they have to win races.
Bob Dillner showed it.
7 to
46
go.
points
7 to
out.
go.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to win at least 2 races.
Yes. Only two
out of
top,
that,
only
7.
two top 10s,
It's
two top 5s,
incredible.
I mean.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the up and downs for Carl Edwards over the last couple of years. He's had some dips and peaks and valleys in the seasons, and the wins back in 2008 were up there. He was 2nd in points and 9 wins, but 0 in 2009, 11th in points. Back in 2010, with the 2 wins, he was 4th. And remember last year, 2nd in points, but only because of the tiebreaker and the 5 wins that Tony Stewart had down the chase. Goodyear has also proudly supported our military for 100 years. You can show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. And still to come on race day, we will have the latest on the A.J. Almendinger suspension and what it may mean for his future. The future could be pretty bright for driver Paul Menard. We'll tell you why. And also 3 generations of NASCAR legends give us a unique insight into some iconic images from the sport's history. NASCAR Race Day is your one and only season-long NASCAR pre-race authority. It is race day at one of the best-known sports venues in the world, and some of the sights and sounds around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway definitely let you know where you are. So let's get set for 400 miles of racing with our Race Day Reset. In off-track news during the off week, NASCAR suspended driver A.J. Almendinger indefinitely after his B-sample drug test also tested positive for a banned substance. He has entered NASCAR's recovery program as well. There are now just 7 races left before the chase, and that means there is not much time left for teams to solidify their spot in the postseason. And Denny Hamlin is on the pole, and he has a chance to make history here today. We'll tell you what that would mean to Denny and his manufacturer. Welcome back once again, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco. You know, there was a day when it was 1 number, 1 sponsor, and 1 driver, but those days are long in the past, as nowadays, sometimes, Darrell Waltrip, these drivers will change sponsors and numbers almost weekly, but there was a time when the sponsors and the numbers were iconic and paired with a single driver.
Yeah, really, it's tradition. I think that's one of the traditions that we've lost. And personally, I had a driver tell me, "Oh, it's just a number." I don't think old school guys, and I don't think this sport, I think the fans in this sport like to see a driver stick with the same number all the way through his career if they could. Let's see what Richard and Jeff Gordon have to say about it.
The checkered flag. When Richard Petty comes into victory lanes, he brings a crowd with him. No race driver has more fans than this fella.
Richard, when I think about Richard Petty, I think about number 43, STP. When I think about Jeff Gordon, I think about number 24, DuPont. Yeah. You know, the Rainbow Warriors. I think a number is part of your identity, and if you can keep the same number all the way through your career, yeah. I've always thought that was important.
I think the whole fraternity is lost. Like Earnhardt's car was always black and always had a 3 on it. Our car was blue for all those years with a 43, then it turned red and blue. And the people in the grandstand and all around, they get focused on that particular deal. The way it is now, every other race we got a different color, you know, different deal. And so the fans, I think, even the 24 fans, they say, "Oh, where's he at?" You know what I mean? They got, because they don't see those rainbow colors, they look for it. And when it's not there, if it's a different color, they got to rethink themselves. I think it confuses a lot of people that day in and day out. you just automatically think it. But if it's something different every day, you forget what was there yesterday or what's going on today. So it makes it aggravating.
I think to your point, Darryl, you know, it's a unique opportunity to be able to do what Richard Petty did with the 43, with STP, and it just can't come along to anybody just because you have to have the success, you have to have, you know, the ability to be with that team and stay with that team, and sponsors want to stay there, and that's what I feel like I got fortunate with, is that, you know, I signed on with Rick, and immediately we connected. And then DuPont signed on, and all of a sudden it was lifetime contract, and DuPont's like, we're not going anywhere unless we're with you. You know, same type of deal. But not everybody can pull that off. And when you do, you want to maintain it as long as you can. But as you know, the sport's gotten expensive, you know, and we have lost a little bit of identity, but we've kind of been forced into that.
The 48 car has been pretty good. They've been staying the dark blue. Every once in a while they change the color. I can't even find them. Yeah. And our cars are the same way. Yeah. We have 2 cars out there, and I have to sort of look in my book to find out, okay, what color is the car today? So I think we're losing identity.
And we could talk forever, but I know y'all got to get busy, and thanks for being here.
Buddy. Yeah. Okay, Darryl.
Number 24.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
24, he's that guy.
Those are 2 of the greatest guys this sport is, 2 of the greatest drivers this sport's ever had in it. But you know what? It was the die-cast business and marketing that created these different paint schemes every week. Sponsors decided, hey, if we got the same car, we got the same number, we got the same driver every week, pretty soon you're all going to have, you know, all the jackets, die-cast, everything you need. So I think that's where the whole thing started, and it's mushroom. It's out of control. But I agree with Richard. You're known by your number. That is your identity. And real quickly before I pass over to you guys, I want to say Marilyn Ains, Hinky Ains, Ains's husband passed away this morning. And Marilyn, we're thinking about you and your family, and your thoughts and our prayers are with you.
Another legend in the sport.
Well, he was a big part of the 11 team when Hammond and all of us were there, and he's been around the sport for a long time.
And Darryl, I think that's a great segment because it's something that we have been dealing with in our sport lately, and sometimes we tend not to go there. This is not good for our sport. I deal with sponsors every day of my life, and one of the biggest people in this sport said to me, Kenny, listen, it is not good to have 4 different sponsors on a major Sprint Cup car. Let's not talk about my Nationwide or truck, but when you're big time and you're one of the big boys and you got 4 different sponsors and you've won the Daytona 500 and you're a champion, that's not good. And here's why. Because like the legends in the said, where's he at? You cannot build brand identity. You can't sell product. And as Jeff Gordon said, this sport's very expensive. $2,000 for one set of tires, $35,000 for a set of tires for the whole race. You got to build that brand identity like the number 28 Texaco Haviland car, because I still know it, that you grew up with your whole life.
Yeah, but also I look at those 3 drivers that were there sitting at that table, including Darryl Waltrip, and when you think about it, Richard Petty, he moved around a little bit, but he was with Petty Enterprises for all those years. And you think about Jeff Gordon. He started at Hendrick Motorsports. He's going to end at Hendrick Motorsports. Darryl, I know you started with 17. You ended somewhat, to some degree, with 17. When I almost think about Darryl Waltrip, I think about number 11 because that's the car you won all those championships in. And 2 drivers of just recently, I didn't think we'd ever see Dale Earnhardt Jr. driving anything but the 8.
Yeah, right.
He goes to Hendrick Motorsports. He can't have the 8. He has the 88. Think about Tony Stewart. Look at the races he won in that 20 and the championships. But now he's got a number he loves because it goes with A.J. Foyt, his hero. So I think drivers moving around's had a little bit to do with it.
Guys, one word. One word. Money.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Marketing and all that stuff.
Yeah, we change colors of cars because of the color green. That's what it's all about. That's exactly. But we go back, and I think there's been so many factors. And you talk about the fans and the diecast. When I was growing up, they were independent owners.
Yeah.
Richard Petty drove the 43. That was it. Holman and Moody was a big deal, but Junior had the number 11. Childress had the number 3. Cecil Gordon had the number 24. James Hilton drove the number 48 car. And they were independent owners. They were their own boss. They were their own destiny. They didn't change the color of their car for anything. But as things begin to change, then we got away from that. And I think when you look at it, It is Richard Petty. 43 is Richard Petty. 24 are those guys to this generation. As I said, 24 to me is Cecil Gordon.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. It's whatever generation you're in. And it is hard for these people to look at that. But this is a business now. It was a sport then. It was a sport in a way people
And that's
paid
sad.
a living.
Yeah.
This is a business now, and you have to go with the business.
Kyle, I have people, I hope you don't mind me asking, but I have people all the time ask me about your hat.
Yes.
And that's a number.
It's a number.
And what does it mean? What does that mean to you?
The number for me was my grandfather was 42. My father was 43. I ended up driving the 44 when I finally got back home to drive at Petty Enterprises 44. So Adam was the next progression, 45. When I drove the 45, I always said that was Adam's car, that was Adam's number, just as we say a number with a driver. And the black stripe is in memory of Adam because I don't drive the 45. That was his car, and that's what the 45 with the black stripe's all about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Darrell, we certainly enjoyed that piece with you and the King and Jeff Gordon up there. We had 14 championships talking about this sport. It was certainly a lot of fun, and you're going to be back with us a little bit later.
Yes, sir, I will be.
On the show, so stand by. Darrell will join us here. Let's take a look at our Facebook poll question for the day. We want to have your opinion on this question. Chevrolet has 9 consecutive Brickyard 400 wins. Will the Bowtie Brigade make it 10 wins in a row? Let us know. Yes or no. It's our Race Day Facebook poll question. And here's what Eric Almirola has tweeted. He tweeted a picture of the famous Fan Canyon. And Eric, you are exactly right. Pictures don't do it justice, but he tried. Just another reason to tune in to this race this afternoon. Coming up, the Brickyard has had a history of sending some of NASCAR's most elite drivers to victory lane over the years. As past champions Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, and Jimmy Johnson have all won here. So imagine the surprise as first-time winner took the checkers a year ago.
30-year-old Paul Menard, his family with such a long racing history in Indianapolis, they'll kiss the bricks together now. Paul Menard wins the Brickyard 400.
Is another Indy upset in the cards today? We'll ask Paul Menard about his chances of repeating this afternoon and flash back to 1 year ago where he staged one of the most shocking wins the Brickyard has ever seen. That's coming up next on NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco on Speed.
To define success, it's finishing first.
A Menard has been trying to win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 3 decades.
Determination,
Paul Menard's going to have to run the most perfect laps he's ever run in his life.
dedication,
His family with such a long racing history in Indianapolis,
pride.
they'll kiss the bricks together now.
To finish first means everything.
Well, Paul Menard sure made his first career Sprint Cup Series win a big one. After 202 starts, he has that one win, and it was last year at the Brickyard. It was somewhat of a surprise, somewhat of an upset, but nonetheless, Paul Menard will always be known as a Brickyard winner, and he's with Bob Dillner.
It was a Cinderella win for this guy last year here at the Brickyard, Paul Menard. I want to know, what did that win do for you, your career? How did it change your life, and what did it feel like to come into this racetrack as the defending winner this morning?
Yeah, I mean, it is a special memory, obviously, one that I'll always have. It changed my week leading into Pocono, but as race car drivers, every time you get in the car, that kind of goes all out the window. So the biggest impact it had was on my off season. You know, getting back home for over the holidays to kind of relive it with the family. That was cool. But then once we come back to the racetrack, it doesn't change. And I didn't think it'd affect me as much as it has coming back to the track. I drove through the tunnel, and then you kind of get flooded with the memories again. So just hope to make some more memories today.
And this has been a very important place for your entire family, your father trying to win the Indy 500 for so many years. But this race also important because you are 15th in points. A victory would mean some big things for you in terms of trying to make the chase. Is that on your mind?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's several guys around us with one race win. I think Casey's got 2, so he's leading the wild card chase right now. We have to get a win in order to get into the chase. We're too far out in points to go in the top 10, so we have to get a win, and that all begins today.
Paul Menard trying to defend his Brickyard 400 crown and get that victory to try to battle his way into the chase. He starts 8th today.
Bob, thanks and best of luck to Paul Menard. 3 of the last 6 Brickyard trophies have gone to the number 48 team, and their dominance has been because of a solid race strategy. So, for our Sonoco Pit Strategy of the Week, let's go to Crew Chief Chad Knaus.
Well, after a much-deserved weekend off, we're coming back to the most famous racetracks in the world, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for the Brickyard 400. And an exciting race this will definitely be. Really hot here as we're going through qualifying and practice, but it's going to cool down a little bit, and that's definitely going to change the track characteristics going into race time. You go about 32 laps in a Sonoco fuel run, and as we've seen time and time again, that's definitely going to come into play at this race. Tires are holding up pretty well, so I think you're going to see a lot of guys opt for fuel strategy over tire strategy and track position come the end of the race. This is a great race, and everybody wants to win it.
Chad, thanks a lot. And still to come on race day, we will have the latest on A.J. Almendinger after the Cup driver has been suspended indefinitely by NASCAR. But now it is a whole new chapter for the number 22 Penske Dodge. Sam Hornish is behind the wheel, and we will tell you their plans for the immediate future. NASCAR Race Day is your one and only season-long NASCAR pre-race authority.
Boys are revved and rearing for a trip to the Brickyard, and we've got more race day to satisfy the hunger. 3 of JJ's Cups came after an NDW. 5 Time tells us why a 4th Brickyard win could lead to Cup number 6.
They wanna get Indy begins a streak of 17 straight races, and with just 7 till the chase, it's time for the wild card contenders to make their move. We'll tell you who's in prime postseason position, and we'll get the lowdown from the big boys before they strap in. Plus, we'll rap about AJ's suspension and tell you what direction the Penske ship will sail. Once a year, stock car racing comes to the holy grail of racetracks, and we'll celebrate till the green flag drops. NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco, continues now on Speed.
We are back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome once again, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco. For more than a century, the Brickyard is where legends have been made, and for just a small part of that history, NASCAR has handed out one of its most coveted trophies. Today, some driver will walk away with the big paycheck and the big trophy, and perhaps cement himself as a chase contender or even a championship driver. It is time now for the drivers' meeting here. Denny Hamlin will start this race from the pole position, as he will have that when the green flag waves. Casey Kane right now has a hold of one of the wild card positions, and another win would solidify that even further. Kevin Harvick is a past champion of this race. He knows how to get it done here. And today, many eyes will be on Sam Hornish, as once again, he is back behind the wheel of the number 22. Off the racetrack during the off week, the B sample from A.J. Allmendinger's recent drug test was also positive for a banned substance. Therefore, he has entered NASCAR's rehabilitation program and hopes to return to racing. For more, let's go back to Wendy.
Thanks, Johnny. We haven't been short on news on the updates with A.J. Allmendinger this week. The test for the B sample, which was the second half of the first test that we've already had from A.J., did come back positive for amphetamines, and that meant his suspension did remain indefinitely for A.J. Allmendinger. He chose to enroll in NASCAR Road to Recovery program, and that actually started on Friday. That was new information coming in this morning to us at NASCAR Race Day via his business manager when I spoke to her this morning. So that Road to Recovery program, the length of it is based on the evaluation that happened Friday. It was about 4 hours long in Charlotte, North Carolina. That information is handed from the medical professional that took that evaluation to Dr. Black and to NASCAR. And the answer of how long that Road to Recovery program hasn't been made clear just yet. However, we do know for today, Sam Hornish Jr. is in the car in Indianapolis. He's also in the car next week at Pocono. We don't know anything beyond that when we get to Watkins Glen, if it's going to be Sam Hornish full-time in the 22. Of course, he's running full-time in the Nationwide Series for Roger Penske. This is what Sam Hornish had to say earlier this week at Indianapolis.
I mean, this is what I want to do. You know, I want to be on the Cup side. I want to be in stock car racing, you know, in NASCAR. I think that I proved that over the last year, you know, even if it takes sitting back, you know, because I haven't accomplished what I wanted to do over here yet. I felt like I did everything and more that I ever wanted to accomplish on the IndyCar side, so it doesn't make any sense for me to go back over there. What makes sense for me to do is pay my dues, do the best that I can to figure out how to get back into the Cup Series. And I've enjoyed the fact that I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different things over the past year. Now that I'm back full-time racing, it gives me opportunities to go out there to race and to compete against these guys. And I want it to be a lot better than the last time. I know that I got to step up and make that happen. One of the big things that we need to make sure is that we're still all having fun, though, at the same time, because I felt that, at times I wasn't having any fun when I was on the Cup side. And this year, with how we've been able to run in the Nationwide Series, we've had a lot of fun.
And that was when Sam Hornish Jr. joined us on Trackside on Speed on Friday evening. Of course, he's been pretty open and honest that he does want that ride full-time from Roger Penske if the 22 ride remains open, and it sounds like that will be the case until AJ's future has been told. Now, AJ also has been pretty vocal, and his business manager has given us a lot of information throughout the week, but AJ finally stepped up to the plate and sent out some tweets earlier this week. Johnny, for more on that, I think you have his tweets that happened.
Wendy, thanks a lot. He did make his statement by way of Twitter. He said he just wants to thanks first and foremost to all of you for sticking by me. It means more than you will ever know. And these are Tuesday night from AJ. He says, I'm sorry we have this going on, but I promise I will do whatever it takes to get back to the bottom of this and get back out there no matter what. And Hall of Fame driver Darrell Waltrip joins us once again. And Darrell, we talk so much about AJ, first of all, because something like this is rare, but also he's probably the highest profile driver to be caught under NASCAR's drug testing policy. But in your mind, does he make it back to NASCAR as a full-time Sprint Cup driver?
Well, Johnny, guys, you know this. You can fight the wall, you can fight the law, but you can't fight City Hall.
Right.
And NASCAR they learned a lot. They learned a lot about how to administer this program in the Mayfield situation. And so I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, they don't want to suspend drivers. They don't want to catch drivers doing something wrong. But when they do, these policies are pretty much foolproof. They are what they are. And so, AJ, the good example, Randy LaJoie. Randy LaJoie got busted. He went on the road to recovery. And they've got a great program to get a guy back as fast as possible. And that road to recovery, AJ did the right thing. Look, he's the only one. That's the only guy that knows for sure what's in his test.
And Darrell, everybody, the number one question is he going to be back? Is he going to be back? Well, I'm going to give you my opinion, but I'm going to give you everybody's opinion. CEOs of major companies, presidents of companies, everybody says, no, he's done. Now, that's what they say. Of course, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I wish him the best, Kyle. I don't know if he's going to make it back or not. All the presidents and CEOs of sponsorship says, no, we can't touch him because he's tainted. I don't talk like that. I hope he makes it back.
No, I think we all hope he makes it back. And we all like to think that forgive and forget.
Right.
But this is NASCAR, and this is racing, and this is competition, and this is somebody else's money. We're spending corporate America's dollars on this. He's not going to come back. I don't see how he can come back, and I'll say it. I don't mind saying it. I don't think he's going to come back. He's not. A Gibbs is not going to pick him up. A Hendrick's not going to pick him up. A Roush is not. And when you have owners like that have that many teams and have that many employees and that many things, that many pots on the fire, they can't afford to have that. And I pray that when it all comes out, that it's nothing major. And I'm glad that he's going to the road to recovery, but he might as well be in a weight loss program, to be honest with you, when it comes to coming back into NASCAR, because I don't see any way for him to come back to this sport.
Yeah, and you saw that shot of Roger Penske, and there's probably not a more patient owner in our sport than Roger Penske. Yes. He will walk the last part of the last mile with you.
Yeah.
But we know that AJ only had 1 year on his contract. And I've been disappointed in that performance over there. When you think about it, after 17 races before this happened, he only had 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. He should have won that Martinsville race.
Yes,
you know it, and I know it.
Yes, sir.
We were doing that broadcast, but I think even before this happened, that he was not going to be in that 22 car at the end of 2012. As far as Sam Hornish, you know what? No different than any other driver. It's going to be about performance. And I think that's one reason they're only doing a few races at a time.
Yeah, if you take 2 drivers and they're of equal talent, and you look at their record, and this guy over here has been busted for drugs, the scale's tipped.
And it doesn't make any difference. And let's be real clear here. It doesn't make any difference. We're not saying it's illegal drugs. We're not talking about anything like that.
No.
NASCAR has a policy. Okay, and you're either positive or you're negative.
That's
it's
it.
like being pregnant. You're either pregnant or
I
you're
don't
not.
want to hear
I'm sorry.
anything about nanograms.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about
I don't know who Nana is.
There's only one way he makes it back, Johnny TV, is if he brings $4 or $6 million
Yes, if he
of
wins the
somebody
lottery.
else's money to the nationwide series. That's the only way he makes it back.
Good point. Good
That's
point.
a very good point. Well,
Bring your money, baby.
And we do wish AJ.
Yes, we
Yes,
best.
we do.
Yes, we do.
In this whole thing. Daryl, thanks for stopping by today. We
thank
sure
you.
appreciate
Oh,
it. Great
yeah.
to see
I
you, as
love you
always.
guys. Love the show.
Love you more.
All right, Daryl's going to be back with us a little bit later as well. Now, we want you to get your opinion to us on your Facebook. You can connect with us on speed.com. Chat live with us in the social garage. Follow us on NASCAR on Speed and on Twitter as well. Our Race Day Facebook poll question has to do with the manufacturers here at the Brickyard. Chevy's won 9 consecutive ones. Can they make it 10? Let us know, yes or no, your opinion on our Race Day Facebook poll question. Coming up on Race Day with a couple of wins in their back pockets and a postseason berth surely sealed. Seems like Jimmy Johnson and crew chief Chad Knaus may be quietly experimenting for the chase, but this afternoon might lock the 48 in as a title contender once again, as Johnson lifted the Sprint Cup Championship trophy after each of his 3 Brickyards.
Three-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion Jimmy Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard 400.
Yeah, 3 times. You are awesome, dude. You are absolutely incredible.
We'll get Johnson's thoughts on taking the checkers in Indy again this afternoon, next on NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco on Speed. Series standings. This is points inside 11 is the number of points you see on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, Larry Mack, I think it's pretty safe to say right now you could go probably as far as number 8 and say we probably are not going to see much of a change. But after that, things could go up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, 7 races is a lot of races, and we can't foresee blown engines or crashes in the early part of the race. But I think the top 10 in points right now, that's the top 10 that will be there when the checker flag waves at Richmond.
Right now, Casey Kane and Kyle Busch are your wild card drivers. But Kyle, you see some drivers back there lurking with wins, most notably Joey Logano and Ryan Newman.
Yeah, those two guys, and I agree with Larry. I think the top 10 is set. I think we're talking wild card right here, and I think when you talk wild card, you've got to talk Carl Edwards with no wins and a crew chief change on where they're going to be. But when you look at a couple of wins, I think you're pretty safe on the wild card side.
And well, whether you love it or hate it, Larry Mack, this wild card situation now has made it so we're talking about a lot more drivers. There's better drivers involved in the wild card right now than have been in years.
Oh, yeah.
And we may go down to Richmond to that final lap and have guys doing anything they can to win to make it in the chase.
Well, so much can happen in 7 races, but we don't need to forget what the tiebreaker is for the wild card. Let's just say that we do have 2 or 3, maybe 4 drivers tied with 1 win. The tiebreaker is who's the highest in the points. So you've got a couple different types of dog fights going. I think last year set the model for the wild card. We didn't have a model until last year. The drivers saw what went on. It's like, you know what? If I'm not going to be high in the points, I better be out there winning some races.
You know, we have 2 superstars, and every year there's somebody left out. You got, who's the hero that's left out? Right now, you're looking at Carl Edwards. You're looking at Jeff Gordon. These are big names, and every year, Kyle, you know, we get towards the end, we get to Richmond, you go, who's the hero? Who's left out? Right now, it's for, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, who's paid all that money last year.
Oh, what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that when Carl was paid all that money and he hasn't won this year, they made a crew chief change.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. The pressure is on because let's face it, a lot of drivers will tell you this. If you're not in that chase, you're a second-class citizen for the last 10 races of the season. But right now, Chris Devoda is at a place where there's only first-class stuff, and that's here at the museum at the Brickyard. Krista?
Yeah, that's right, John. We are still inside the racetrack. Our tour continues. We've moved away from the front stretch. And when you come into the tunnel, the 16th Street Tunnel, this is actually the very first thing that catches your eye. It is the Hall of Fame Museum here at the racetrack. Originally, it was located outside the track. It was moved inside. Approximately 75 vehicles are on display, and it's 96,000 square feet of exhibits, displays, trophies, and cars. Really cool cars. Also, an extensive trophy collection, including the famed Borg-Warner Trophy, which honors the winner of each Indianapolis 500. And as you see behind me, a lot of fans milling around before the race starts, a lot of fans going in, checking it out. We see a lot of them coming back out. So they're taking in the history. Whose car or artifacts from the car will be included in the museum after today? Well, that answer is still to come. By the way, the admission here at the museum, only $5 for adults. Children and under are free. A great thing to do for fans. Get to the track early and go check out the museum. So we are going to continue our tour. Coming up later in the show, we will take you to another spot here inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. John?
Krista, so much to see at this racetrack and so much history. They built the place back in 1909, and did you know that the first race here was not in cars? It was in helium balloons.
No way.
Yes, sir, it was. We'll be back with much more on NASCAR Race Day when we come back. Get ready. Race of the season brings us to the Brickyard, and it is a big one, especially for those drivers that are trying to secure a wild card spot. Ryan Newman is one of those drivers, and he's with Bob Dillner.
That's right. Got one victory this year, 14th in points. Come to the Brickyard, one of your favorite races of the year, having been grown up in Indiana. What does this race mean today in the complete picture to battle for that wild card spot, Ryan?
Well, the race itself is entirely different from the battle that we're having. The race, to me, the history of the Speedway, the history of all the great drivers that have crossed the Yard of Bricks, that's special. It just happens to be a special place that we're racing for this wild card spot. So our Quick and Loan Chevrolet was good. We qualified 11th. We got a good starting position. We need to keep our track position, move up a little bit, and give ourselves a shot at the end of the day.
Is there pressure for you guys to get another victory and get into that chase?
I think in any kind of sport, there's always pressure if you let it be there. I still have a job to do. I don't think pressure makes me perform any better. I think it's actually a bad thing. But you know, if I put pressure on myself, I don't think I do a better job. I just go out there and do the job that I need to. I'm capable. I know I'm able. I want to go out there and have fun. And if we do have fun, we'll be in victory lane.
I know a lot is up in the air for you right now for next year. You're still negotiating with Stewart-Haas Racing, but a lot of talk about the 22, Penske Racing. Would you entertain the thought of going back to Penske Racing, and have you talked to anybody over there just yet?
No, I'm happy where I'm at. I want to keep doing what we're doing. Stewart has given me a great opportunity, and Gene Haas as well. And you know, there's also, like you said, there are other options out there, but I'm happy where I'm at. We've been successful. We can be more successful than we are, and we're just trying to work through all those things.
A lot of questions still unanswered right now for Ryan Newman. A lot of other drivers, Wendy Venturini.
Thanks, Bob. We just heard from Ryan Newman regarding the wild card position, Joey, and also about being a free agent. You're in the same spot as him. Where do you stand in the negotiation process? You've said you're talking to teams, and you got to see what the best option is for Joey Logano yourself. So where are you, and would you even think about talking to somebody like a Penske Racing and entertaining an offer like that with the 22 car?
It all takes time right now, and you know, the stuff that you deal with during the week, and then you get to the racetrack and you focus in on what you got going on this weekend, which is our Dollar General car, and trying to bring home a big W again, because we're trying to get ourselves on the chase there. And after what Casey did a few weeks ago, we need to get at least one more win to get ourselves where we need to be. So we got a good shot today. We're starting third. So as long as we can stay up there and keep it in a good track position and try to do something at the end.
Making any progress, though, on any announcement coming up as we get closer and closer to the end of the year?
I'm still looking around and you know, trying to weigh out your options and figure out what's the best opportunity for my future. And you know, I'll let you know. The first person I'll let know is you.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, Joey. Now, on the flip side, racing here in Indianapolis today, a lot of history. Everyone's looking forward to the race, but you have a lot more on your plate with this wild card position. How is that changing the strategy for you and the team today?
It's definitely, like I said, it's really important to win right now. But at the same time, as close as points are from, you know, 17th to 11th or so, is really, really close. So we can't afford to have a bad race, but at the same time, we got to do what we got to do to try to win another race. So it's really tough. We're in a tough spot right now, but you know, we're in a good position to be in too.
And Joey has a good starting position as well. But when it comes to driving here at the Brickyard over the past 6 races, no one's done it quite like Jimmy Johnson. In those last 6 races, he's won 3 times. Now, in between, there's been some trouble for the 48, but definitely a great place for this team to come. And Jimmy Johnson joins us now. Jimmy, you've accomplished so much with the 5 championships, the Daytona 500 win. How do you stack up your 3 Brickyard wins with those other accomplishments?
Oh, they're way up there. I mean, this track is so special, as we all know.
and it's so difficult to win here. Daytona is very difficult to win at as well, but the draft and circumstances and working with other drivers play a bigger part in that. Where here it's more of an individual win of you and your team, and what goes on around you with the other cars doesn't play is really a difference at all. So it's a fun race to win, one that I'm very proud to have won at, and I always dreamed of racing here in an IndyCar when I was a kid. So to come back, to be here, I should say, and to have won 3 times, hoping for a 4th to join my heroes that are ahead of me, winning at this racetrack 4 times. Today could be the day. I feel real good about my car and looking forward to it.
Jimmy, teams inside the garage area say the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard are all about winning the race because you become a champion of that race, and they don't care about points. Tell me your opinion on that statement. You have won this race 3 times. When you win it, or when you're running in it, do you think about points?
No, not at all. Not today. You're absolutely right that I'd say pretty much, well, the majority of the field, especially guys that are comfortable within the chase right now, are just focused on a win. I mean, this race does so much for a team and for a driver and for the sponsors involved. I woke up this morning and reminded myself, today is not about points. It's all about a trophy.
Jimmy, we know you didn't participate in the Nationwide Series race yesterday, but I have to believe a hot topic in the driver's meet that you just came out of was restarts. What did you take away from the driver's meet just a few minutes ago about restarts here today?
Well, yesterday there was clearly 2 restarts with some drama within them, and it was a topic of discussion. David Hoots gave a long description about roles and responsibilities for all the drivers, and I certainly understand that. The first one, the original start, I still have some questions on. There wasn't any penalties in place on that one. The second one, I'm not sure what Elliott could have done differently, and I raised my hand and asked a few questions as the meeting wound down, and just trying to understand what do you do when you're in that position. I understand it in a traditional restart, you can't beat that leader. But when someone's pushing you at a high rate of speed, I think even the 4th place car beat the leader across the start-finish line. I don't know what to do then to get it right. Mike Hilton stood up at that time and said, look, yesterday brought up a new set of circumstances, and we will regulate things now more than they have in the past. So I don't want NASCAR's job. This isn't an easy thing to sort out, but we saw something happen yesterday that I think a lot of people raised blood pressure in a lot of people.
Hey, Jimmy, I know you're big on tradition, and you've won this race, 3 times, and you go on to win the championship after that. You kind of started your own tradition. So this is a springboard. So, will this race catapult you into that place? And the second part of the question is, the other part of the tradition question is, how do you like the cannon going off at 6 o'clock?
I thought the motorhome next to me blew up. And once it went off, I knew about the cannon. But then the sound check for the band at 6 a.m. following lasted until 6:20. And at that point, my daughter was awake and ready to go. So hopefully the track is watching. We can do a sound check later. We don't need that to follow. I get the cannon. Certainly scared everyone. But tradition is awesome here at the track. I've been able to be a part of it with my wins and hope to have another. And then I really, as you pointed out, I hope that springboards the 48 team to another championship.
So, Jimmy, what is that about that makes a team? So many drivers that have won the championship, is it just being good at this time of year that propels you to that, or is it just simply coincidence that the Brickyard winners have been so successful in a championship run?
I really think it boils down to how difficult this race is, and championship caliber teams shine under difficult circumstances, and I think there's a lot to that. We don't have another track that is shaped like this, and the speeds are so fast with no banking, and it's a very technical racetrack for the crew chiefs and for the driver, and very line specific. So good teams rise to the top here, and they also will at the end of the year.
Well, Jimmy, thanks a lot. Congratulations on your past success at this racetrack, and wish you the best of luck today.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
All right, that is 3-time Brickyard winner Jimmy Johnson, hoping to add a 4th today. Sonoco's Free Fuel 5000 is back. Stop by your favorite Sonoco station and get a decal and stick it on your bumper. If we spot you filling up at Sonoco with the decal on your ride, you win a Sonoco gift card instantly and are automatically entered to win 5,000 gallons of free fuel. Visit Sonoco, go Sonoco.com, Free Fuel 5000 for more information, or stop by the NASCAR Race Day fueled by Sonoco Speed Stage during any NASCAR race weekend to pick up your decal. When we come back to NASCAR Race Day, we will dissect the Nationwide Series restarts and tell you exactly what effect they may have on today's race. Stay with us. Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is the site of the 20th race this season for NASCAR's Sprint Cup Series. This weekend, it was also the site of some history being made for the nationwide race as they raced here for the first time ever. Let's take a quick look at some of the highlights as they came down Fan Canyon for the first start of the day, and probably one of the less talked about starts of the day.
And it was an ugly start to the race. This was very controversial. So remember this restart where Kyle Busch started second, jumped the start, went out into the lead.
Kenny, you were in this race. Let's take a look at what happened on lap number 83.
Well, here we go. This is the last restart. This is the controversial start. The outside lane, Elliott Sadler clearly beats the leader, takes the lead. He sets sail, Larry McReynolds. At this point, we think Elliott Sadler is going to win 2 in a row. He won last week.
And when I saw this, I was watching it on television. I certainly questioned what happened there, and I was almost screaming at the television saying, Elliott, if you give it back, they won't penalize you. But to Jimmy Johnson's point, you could see that Austin Dillon was shoving him. I'm not sure there was a lot he could do.
So it was Brad Keselowski's name that goes down in the Nationwide Series history books as the first ever winner at the Brickyard. But a lot was talked about other than Brad Keselowski after those controversial restarts. For more, let's go to Bob Dillner.
Well, it was a big to-do in the drivers' meeting today for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Several drivers, among them Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards, asking questions about the restart and start procedures. Now, NASCAR insists nothing has changed whatsoever, but there are some exceptions to the rules. And now this is the area right here you can see from the double red line all the way down here to the red line, the single one. That is the restart zone. And I think the big question that Jimmy Johnson brought up, as he mentioned on the air, was what happens if a driver pushes another driver across the line? Well, the answer was very interesting because David Hoots from NASCAR had been addressing all the drivers. At that point, the president of NASCAR, Mike Helton, stood up and addressed everybody. And he said, if a driver pushes another driver across the line, we may very well react to that driver. And honestly, I believe, Larry Mack and everybody, that's the first time we have ever heard a representative from NASCAR say, if a driver is pushing another driver across the line, he may get penalized.
Bob, thanks a lot. Certainly something to watch today, and we will keep an eye on the restarts. Here's the answer to our Race Day Facebook poll question. Chevrolet has 9 consecutive wins. Will they make it 10? 82% said yes. They believe a Chevrolet driver will make it to victory lane today at the Brickyard. Still to come on Race Day as we watch our Olympic athletes represent America overseas here at the Brickyard. There is a lot to do in downtown Indianapolis. That's why the fans like coming to this place so much. They have a beautiful ballpark for the minor league team, the Indianapolis Indians. And guess who they had there last night? That good-looking gentleman is none other than Kyle Petty. He threw out the first pitch, and yes, it was in the dirt.
In the dirt, baby.
Now, but that was your intention, though.
The intention was either in the dirt or over his head, and I got weak when I got up there, so I just threw it in the dirt.
Maybe if you wore something other than flip-flops, you would have had something to push off of.
They had cleats on the bottom of them. They were...
Now, Krista Voda has found herself over to Brickyard Crossing. And, Krista, you know you have a big racetrack when you can have half a golf course inside of it.
Yeah, absolutely, Johnny. I know a lot of folks at home know that there is a golf course inside Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're new to the show or new to racing, you may not realize that. It's an 18-hole championship course designed by Pete Dye. 4 of the holes are completely located inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can see the pagoda over there. That's where we started our tour. We have ventured over here to the golf course. I am actually standing on the tee box of hole number 7. It's a par 3 with a slight water hazard along the left side. The course closed today. Obviously, all these people walking around. But look at what I found. A couple of balls already teed up for me. I don't think anyone would mind if I go ahead and take a few swings. I hope Mike Helton, anyone with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, is not watching this. And I understand Rutledge did this last year. I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to be worse than him because usually I whiff it. I lift my head, and that's probably what's going to happen here. But we'll go ahead and take a swing. You guys are nervous for me, I know. I'm nervous for myself. Okay, here we go. Look at those poor folks are taking their life into their own hands. We've got one more. You guys, coming for you. But really, you guys can play this course. This course is normally open except on the Indianapolis 500 and Brickyard 400 weekends. Closed today except for race day. Okay, I hit them straight, but I really don't get any loft. But the good news is I at least made contact. That was the important thing.
That was
bottom line, coming to the Brickyard is not just a racetrack, it is an experience. We have tried to show you all the cool sights. Why are you guys laughing at me?
Because you almost mowed down.
Yeah, those two guys had it.
That was awesome.
Those two
I know,
guys.
they're okay.
Yeah,
Look, give us a thumbs
key
up.
word you need to learn,
They're still standing.
Krista, thank you so much for the tour, and thank you for hitting them straight. We enjoyed having you today.
She represents the normal person.
That's good. Perfect.
All right, Saturday. Thanks a lot, Krista. We'll see you very soon, we hope. Saturday, Krista will be on the setup show as the world's toughest truckers tangle on the Triangle of Pocono with lightning-fast speeds and treacherous turns. This track is known for carnage. The NASCAR...
Look, you didn't do anything wrong. Elliott asked, what could I do in the future? They couldn't give him an answer. If you can't give him an answer, obviously you can't make the call. Sometimes the best call is, Kyle, a no call.
Yes, it is.
Too many lines. Drop the green flag at the double file restarts and take the finish line out of the equation. I say they changed the rule. When you drop the green flag, let them fly,
Let
boys.
them race. Yeah, regardless of where that line's at, whether it's 50 feet before the start-finish line or the start-finish line, when that green flag waves, have at it, boys.
And we can talk restarts or everything. I think NASCAR needs to reevaluate their rule book and take about a third of the rules that they have out and let these guys go back to do it the way we used to.
Hey, do you think Carl Edwards texted Elliott and said, hey, welcome to my world?
Yes, he did.
Well,
yes, he did. No doubt.
It's even more confusing because the original start of the race and the restarts have a little bit of different rules.
Well, it is and it isn't, because the starter starts it with the green flag, but where you restart differs from the start of the race and a restart.
So I'm confused.
Earnhardt said it right. Let's go back to the black three. When the rag drops, race.
That stops. That's exactly right.
Well, in just a matter of moments, we are going to drop the rag on the 19th running of the Brickyard 400. You'll want to join us directly after the race for Victory Lane, and we appreciate you coming along for the ride for this Brickyard edition of NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sonoco on Speed.
On this episode of Hard South Bronx,